Hasten down the wind. I bet you guys never heard this live. Probably never heard this live because you're all young.
Walked by the rain, driven by the snow, dark day. Don't you know I'm still willing? Out on the road, late last night, I see my pretty Alice in every headline. That's sad. And I've been gone too long to keep on praying to have to be the dog apart.
Better not play that very long. And I'm still willing. Sorry I'm late. I had a emergency, and I guess that's how it goes. That's the way love goes, dear. That's the way love goes. Hey, it still fits. Yeah, the action in GBUX today, let's go with this gentleman here, Michael Lomsky. The action in GBUX today was not a takeoff, but I thought, and it wasn't very much volume either, but let me give you my thoughts on that. There is risk, of course, in these trades, but if you look up GBUX on Yahoo, that's where I usually go, Yahoo Finance, and you go down to the news from Saturday, it says, GBUX details. It's taking a while. Dallas Alice. And I've been. So give me weed, whites, and wine, and show me a sign, Lord, and I'm still willing to be moving. All right, here it is. All right, so it says, the headline says, GBUX details $212 million strategic investment, commits $212 to an asset-based investment vehicle. So then it talks about how it's a super app. Who isn't a super app these days? They today announced they intended to sell 30% equity stake in the company for $212 million. So you have to think like a computer. Everything's computerized. So these criminals sit out there in the world of Gary Gensler, Adina Friedman, Robert Cook, Chucky Cromwell. The computers, they've come up with computers. They've done away with trading desks. They've done away with analysts. They've done away with compliance officers. They've done away with everything except cheating. So they have the computers, and the computers using AI can read all the headlines that are out there, all of them simultaneously. But they're not smart. The computers aren't smart. They're just looking for words. They're just looking for words. One of the words is intended. Announced the intended. That doesn't scare Big Bill. That didn't scare Little Bill, did it? not intended. Intended doesn't scare anyone. Intended, schmitended. All right, so they announced the intended sale of 30% stake in the company for $212 million. The transaction is designed to be completed, to be completed, to be or not to be, both in the computer's eyes are things that may or may not happen in some defined or ill-defined or never defined future. So that headline, that first paragraph to me means the computer said, don't worry about it. You can sell stock. And that's what they go in and do. And this is Gary Gensler's design. This is Adina Friedman's design. Allow the markets to be unfair, high frequency trading, so Ken Griffin and Stevie Cohen can outduel each other for the largest representation of their manhood that they can buy. So then it says the transaction is designed to be completed through a non-dilutive structure. That's all good, but that's all the computer's picking up on is intended to be. And then it says this multi-year commitment. Well, what does that mean? Are you going to dribble it out over time? So anyway, my point is, it's not to alarm you. My point is that they need to provide a further update, which I said I thought they would Saturday, because they have to. Let's see if they put out the 8K. Let's see if they put out the 8K. So I think what you're going to see, Michael, is oh, I screwed up. Sorry. What's the symbol? GBUX. Okay. March 31. I just got a text message. Sorry. All right. So they did make 10K filing today, saying notification of inability to timely file. That's not the best thing to do from a short seller standpoint. But it probably just means they got a lot to put in there, you know. I think we'll be fine. I think that means they owe us the 10K, they owe an 8K on this press release, and maybe there'll be a further press release. And hopefully, Michael, the next press release will say something like, GBUX, the greatest app ever invented company, has accepted $200 million received in their account or some definitive statement, and then maybe we could start seeing buying in the stock. The other good news that I take out of it is that the uh, um, lack of volume. What did I say the volume was? Means that when buying comes in, it should go up quite a bit. Let me just see what the volume was today, according to Yahoo. Sorry, that text message distracted me. It's only 12,000 shares, 13,000 shares. So it's not a lot of volume. So if they have to cover, we could see some fast actin to actin. Hey, Frank. Hey, Don. How are you, Don? Frank. So now what? I accidentally sold GBUX at 7. Wow. Good for you. You can buy it back. Do what you want. You don't have to buy it back. I still have the thing I drew up yesterday, so I might show it with my caveats before I erase it. I think over the next 2 weeks, I think Railtown, I know it's annoying waiting for Railtown, but I think if Railtown makes a solid descriptive announcement, that could be a $3 stock, $2.50, something like that. Obviously, a prediction, not a promise, but that's what I think. And I think Railtown's downside is de minimis. I mean, they've been pushing it down, the buyers out there. So even if I'm wrong and it goes to 40 cents, which is resistance, 60 cents, and then somewhere around $1, $1.20, I don't see it going down on any news. Obviously, not a promise. These are all speculative. And then GBUX, I think, if we're lucky, could go straight up if a buy-in kicks in. If the news is so good and the price is up, it's a surprise to the shorts. The price is up, it causes buying, and then it becomes self-fulfilling. So I think GBUX could go to, let's pick a number. Well, I'll tell you what, I put my sell order in over $100 today. I put it in at 144. Doesn't mean that's what I'm going to put it in for tomorrow. So all those manipulators. And then Finger, I think, can 2x. But I warned you that it is I think it's in a wave action, sort of buy the dip, sell the rip, buy the dip, sell the rip, buy the dip, sell the rip. It's choppy because it's got some things to work through in terms of the technical. The chart, if you didn't know any news on the company, it's got things to work through. There's people that bought the stock who are going to get out as soon as they get their money. Anyway, I think in 2 weeks, I'm only talking about 2 weeks' time, so don't get upset. This could still go. What is all that? I think Finger could double, but it's going to be a slog. And of course, I'm very high on silver. All right. Do you think Railtown would do a reverse split? Ham's calling in. Hang on. Hello? Yeah, I'm alive or live? Yeah, I'm both. All right. I just was trying to make sure if you wanted to go on. All right, hang on. All right, you got the hamster.
I just did a call too, and
I didn't.
I was just calling to check on William to make sure he's okay. I haven't heard from him. And
I didn't know you had a call today. I had something
yeah,
come
no,
up
I
this
just
afternoon.
listen. I am just throwing them up, Nelly, Nelly, Billy, whatever you want to call it, Nelly, whatever it's called. And
Really?
I'm just trying to update people on what's going on. William, I have the truck out there Wednesday and Thursday. I'm making the slides now.
Where's there?
I asked a bunch of people to contribute, that I have other companies that wanted to get exposure. And none of them came through. CEOs, they just screw them all. I'm not helping them. I did make a slide for the MMTL people. I know a lot of people there, and I wanted to help them out. But these other companies that are being abused, they don't say anything.
Call up MLGO. Their stock's up. Maybe they'll help.
Oh God, those guys made the person that bought the 20 million shares at 80 cents. Walked away making, $200 million on that squeeze.
He knew about it in advance.
Oh, that was if the SEC wants to ask my opinion on it, that was a pay an algorithm to squeeze the stock deal. There's no question about it. They put it up. When they announced the $20 million worth of stock at 80 cents, the short sellers come on top of it, right? Shorting it, and then they turned the algorithms on in their face and ran them over. That's what happened. It's a perfect play out of a good playbook.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer group of guys.
Oh no, I'm with you. I don't want, I'm just telling you my opinion.
I just wish we had known to buy it.
Well, there were people that owned it. I know a couple people that bought it and actually sold it.
Queen of Trades owned it.
So people bought it and they sold it at $5 and $6 and it went to 30.
Yeah.
And it's just the same pattern. I tell everyone all the time, you don't know how to sell. And what did I say to do? If you bought 1,000 shares, sell 200 at 6, 200 at 8, 200, and you're able to stay and sell 200 at 30, would give your average price not $10, but it may be like $18 if you did that. And that's how you have to sell. Everyone rushes to sell. We hold on to our losers and we sell our winners too soon. So anyway, William, let me just touch base. This GBUX got the money for $212 million with no dilution. I'm hearing it's a preferred share. And the short sellers are sitting here. They don't even know what to do. So that's basically the Chinese handcuffs on those guys. They're done. Just a matter of what day that's going to go. People, you don't realize how hard it is to raise 3 million, 5 million. Imagine 212 million. That is like impossible to do. Figure Motion has like 9 or 10 business opportunities in China and barely raised $5 million. So this company raised 212 million.
And it's non-dilutive because the shares are coming from existing shareholders.
Right. Well, they're going to, it's going to be it's going to be basically a preferred share.
Right. So the
that's what I heard
is not taking a lot of, they're getting 30% ownership, but they control the company, obviously. That's what.
Right. But they're taking that money, I'm told, and putting into a real estate play. And the real estate will buy distressed properties with income. And the income will come back and they'll be able to buy back shares and reduce the outstanding with it. So it'll be basically a dividend play. And that will drive up the value of the company. There you go. And we said it before, William, in December. I said the story was coming out of where, William? Do you remember?
Your rear end?
I said it came out of Goldman Sachs.
That's right. I remember. I was going to say Dubai, but all right, Goldman Sachs.
The story was coming out of Goldman Sachs. I said, I don't know what they're going to do, but they said 2025, this is going to be a big stock.
I remember.
I had no idea.
And it was 73 cents.
And those are my exact words.
They were. You said it many times.
So again, if I knew it was 100% that it was going to go crazy like this, I would have sold everything I got and bought it. But I didn't. And the only amount that my family has is 30,000 shares altogether.
I
Don't
have
get me wrong.
325 shares in my IRA.
I'm just saying that we own it probably at $1.50 average altogether.
That's pretty good.
But we
30,000.
we haven't right. We haven't sold it, and we're going to stay put. And now that company's got this type of money in it, what's the rush? There is no rush.
Good for you.
Well, I hope it goes. You know, if MLGO can go to 30, I'm raising $20 million, selling 20 million shares. This thing can go to 60, raising 200 million without issuing one share. Just look at it from that angle. I spoke to my friend who is a holder of finger motion in Hong Kong. Maybe about 11 o'clock today, I spoke with him. And he said that the talks are ongoing with major players in Shanghai. So whatever happened is ongoing, and we'll wait to see what comes out of it. I can't confirm it. I can't, coming from a shareholder, so you take it with a grain of salt, all right? We know the Roth Capital report's coming out. We know the company's end of the year is due. We know the dividend is due, I guess, once they finish their end of the year audit. And all these type of things are coming out. And we said it in finger motion. The downside is up. Who's selling it below $1.50? Nobody. Just the shorts trying to press their bet because they need to cover. And you sit there and say, you're crazy. Well, MLGO, they were pushing that stock down from 4 down to 2.5. Then they did the crazy deal and it went to 30. Same thing with Root. They pushed it down, then it went to 180. These things turn on a dime. William, we will be abusive at the SEC on Wednesday and Thursday. We will let Devin Nunes know, Donald Trump know, Elon Musk, Doge, at the disgrace that the U.S. equity market is. We will let them all know. We're equal opportunity. We will make sure everybody gets shit on. This is a disgrace that this is still going on. And I know Trump's been in office 62 days, and I know he's doing a lot. But you know what? Banning transgender men, you know, all that nonsense is all well and good. I got it. But everyone's financial freedom is at stake here. Everyone's pension funds, everything's at stake in the financial equity markets. And to drag your feet on this subject is just unbelievable. Again, I don't own all these names, but it helps everybody. Cancer companies, diabetes, whatever you're doing. William always says it best. How can all these CEOs all have terrible business plans at the same time? Not one person has a good idea. Every one of them is a failure. Everything. Finger Motion's doing business in China with the biggest names in the world. It's a bad company. MULN, they're making electric cars, and their battery technology. And I heard it from good people. Their battery technology is supposed to be very, very good. And I heard a long time ago, BMW was looking to get involved with them. But how could you get involved with them? The stock just goes down every day. It's 10 cents again. And they're going to Discovery, I heard. And if anyone has got ties to MULN, I know a guy who made $400 million. They could be shorting the stock. Me and William want to get rewarded for it. If you will, rat them out to get paid. We'll be a whistleblower if anybody wants to reach out. How's that, William?
That sounds good.
I'll take it. I'll take an envelope and a jawbreaker at this point. I'll take anything.
Hey, I'd love to get paid.
So that's what we're going to do. So if anyone wants to reach out, I'll be glad to rat out the short. I don't really give a shit. The Anson Fund is ratting out everybody, William, just like we said they would. Andrew Left is now busted. What's he going to do? Give up people.
So let me ask you a
busted.
question. Let me ask you a question in your opinion. Anson Fund apparently did 85% I don't know how to check that, of that deal with Roth Capital. But how did Anson, if they're in trouble, how did they do that deal? What's your opinion? Are they working with the government?
I reached out to my friends. I reached out to my friends who are holders, and I told them to call Roth Capital up, get the CEO to call Roth Capital up and say, hey, how did this guy invest in our company? Did you know this guy's a criminal going to jail? And Finger Motion has every right to ask that question.
Yeah. Do you think
I don't know,
do you think if they're ratting, they get the privilege of closing out their positions?
I don't know what they've done. I would only assume that if Anson is tied to Lynn, they bought into this thing to try to cover some stock.
Right.
Which is okay. That 800,000 position is gone.
Yeah.
I believe they closed it out. That's my belief anyway. Listen, I showed you Anson funded deals with the Lynn Partners, with Hal Mintz. They all work together. Phil Lavaliere is from Toronto. You know he knew those guys. Jeff Easton probably bought him on because he needed a connection to those guys.
Jeff Easton is a day trader of Yahoo, and now he runs an investment bank? Come on.
Right.
Look,
he's got the biggest returns.
I don't think it was a great situation to be in, but I think Finger Motion got to the end of the year. They had the contract. They have to fulfill it. Chinese New Year coming up. I think he had to hit the bid, and it hurt.
Well, yeah, I think Finger Motion had to do the deal, or they were going to lose the deal.
So
that's what I think, because the Chinese government is probably saying, "Hey, you got to pick up the pace on this thing," you know.
So in that sense,
and that's what it is.
We have to live with it, but it's shameful. You were up there. There's a big production. All they're missing is one of those disco balls in the middle of the room. But we go to NASDAQ. There's booze and food and music and celebration, and then the bell rings, and they're all grateful you're there. But then they don't do anything to protect the shareholder or the CEO at all.
William, just think what you just said. We went to the celebration of the company getting listed, right? Getting uplisted. Yeah. The company spent money in a very nice restaurant. People flew in thousands of dollars, and it turned out to be a total embarrassment. A total embarrassment for the NASDAQ and everyone involved here, the DTC, everyone. Yeah. Think about that for a second. A complete disgrace, the whole thing. And here's companies spending money. Now no one's going to spend any money. Why? Because it's a disgrace. If you do, you don't get any money back on your investment. Why would you go get lawyers to fight back? It takes 10 years to get to discovery, right? Look at all the stuff you have to do. You know? Anyway, William, I was calling to check on you, making sure you're okay. And I'm actually going to play I'm going to play pickleball. I will call you tonight. I want to go over a few things with you, so please pick up when I call you, all right?
Unless I'm with my girlfriend.
Well, if you're with your girlfriend, then don't pick up.
I'm just teasing.
And when you pick up the phone and just hit 77, I'll know.
Yeah. All right.
All right, everyone. I'm going to play ball. I'll speak to you later.
Bye. So what did Gerald say? No, yeah, Gerald's right. You're right, Mark. I think you mean GBUX. I don't know about Finger. Maybe Finger did it as well, but GBUX did it. Nix had news today. The dollar will no longer be convertible into gold at $35 an ounce for the foreseeable future. I say nix on that. And of course, the stock's down after they announce it. All right, so 7 hours ago, Nixie announced an acquisition, it looks like. Or is it a follow-on of the acquisition they already did? Nixie purchased, well, let's read the headline. Nixie purchases Call AI and Aqua Health Coach platforms for $3.9 million in cash. Nixie purchases 2 advanced AI software platforms to broaden its portfolio and capabilities in telecom and healthcare technology. Cal AI's technology is expected to augment Nixie's AuraLink AI telecom subsidiary, enhancing the company's AI-driven voice communication, blah, 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 blah. Nixie actively evaluates technologies in order to purchase them at attractive valuations. This transaction is $4 million, brings in some sort of AI system. I'm sure it's going to revolutionize everything it touches. Together, these 2 solutions form a basis for intelligent, scalable, human-centric engagement. I mean, you could go down to your local bar and find intelligent, scalable, human-centric engagement. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but what has our life become? We've moved from interacting in person to going online, and now we have to bring online the personability of it. So Miles Jennings, CEO, said our purchase of Cal AI and Aqua Health Coach AI software represents a strategic step forward to increase the value of our company and strengthen our overall service proposition. Both serve to diversify Nixie's AI solutions across industries. Oh God, are you already asleep? Each platform solves distinct high-impact challenges, from streamlining enterprise communications to fostering better patient engagement and outcomes. We are excited to bring these technologies into the Nixie family and synergistically, nothing like a good synergism, integrate their capabilities with our existing offerings, including our telecom-focused AuraLink AI subsidiary. Our team is focused on executing a smooth, innovative integration to deliver high value to our customers and shareholders. They're particularly good at writing wordy, nearly meaningless press releases. So here's something interesting. This is worth knowing. It's buried in the middle of the press release. The call center market, AI market, is $3 billion, and it's going to be worth $26 billion in a decade. And the North American call center AI market currently is $1 billion and expected to grow at 24% compounded over the next decade. Doesn't say. That's good information. The global chatbot market is $8 billion, and it's going to grow at 23% by over the next 5 years. Nixie plans to deploy Call AI and Aqua Health Coach. These are B2B or not to be clients, reflecting the company's focus on domestic market needs. This US first approach matches our US first approach allows Nixie to ensure each solution meets high standards. Blah blah blah. They turn good information into boring. Good Lord. I didn't know I was going to buy a research report. Anyway, it's good news, I think. It's a 10-minute read. I think they should get these reads down to 30 seconds or less. Hey, Zizu. Happy, I think I'm correct to say this. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong, but happy Eid. If I'm wrong, happy Monday. You didn't turn in late. I turned on late. So you tuned in, I turned out. Turned on. Tune in, turn on. You can always count on Jack. Always count on Jack. Yes, Ham was on the call. First like gets good luck today. Second like gets good luck tomorrow. Third like gets good luck on Wednesday. And the fifth like gets lucky on the side. All right, so there's no, I think I've answered everything. So I came on without preparing my handful of little things to read to you. So I'm going to try to get something to show you. There's two items I want to go over. I'm really disappointed that Djokovic lost last night. It was too bad, the rain, the weather. He kept slipping. I think he could have won in the tiebreak. I don't think the court did him any favors. I also, though, think he showed his nerve broke because he lost 3 points right in a row in the first set tiebreaker. That's too bad. It's just too bad. That new kid, though, looks great. Man, he plays just like Djokovic. All right, let me see what I can add to your knowledge today. What can I add to your knowledge today? Oh, yeah. This is frightening. This is a little frightening for those of you tuned in to Trump saying, we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to be independent, all that. It's all crap. I'm not picking on Trump. He's just reflecting the information that's out there. I just don't think it's true. Ted Cross of Novi Labs, and this just came out. I want to say yesterday. I don't know the date on this chart though. So the cumulative oil is dropping. The production is dropping in the Permian is the question. The two biggest sub basins are the Midland and the Delaware. The Midland looks like it is in decline from 21, maybe 22, down in 20 for the year to 2023. And I'll read you some of the wording here in a second. But the Delaware Basin also is showing that decline. Interestingly to me, to point out to you, is if the Oro Grande worked, which has not been proven not to work yet. The shorts took it on themselves to destroy the development of the Oro Grande just for their own greedy needs, and no one cares. But my point is, if the Delaware Basin and the Midland Basin are in decline and their tier 1 assets are drilled, and maybe they have some tier 2, it makes the Oro Grande attractive to these bigger companies if it were ready to go. But the shorts made sure it's not. That's not McCabe's fault. That's not Berta's fault. That's not even George Palikaris's fault. That is the criminality which is encouraged by Adina Friedman, Gary Gensler, Robert Cook, and Chucky Cromwell. It's encouraged by them. People go to these outlets as CEOs on behalf of their shareholders, and they get slaughtered. How much longer are we going to stand for the outright lie that is the American stock market? All right, let me show you something else. I just got to remember what it is that I wanted to show you, what it is and what it is too. Oh, that's what it was. And I'll read both of these a little bit after I look at your questions. But this was an interesting article I saw on I think it was on oil price, but anyway, we can go over some of the wording in it. It's pretty long, but the petrodollar being transformed into the digital yuan. And I throw out a question to all of you guys that are, and I like it too, that digital coin that everybody talks about, the digital settlement system, which I like. But what if China and the Middle East just shift to a renminbi, which is digital and backed by gold, at least initially? And then I wanted to show you one other thing, which I did not print out. Yeah, it's nothing I can really show you that adds to your But what's interesting, the other day I showed you U.S. oil production, and it said 23 million barrels a day or some crap like that. This is from a study, The State of the U.S. Oil and Gas Industry by oilprice.com. And as we enter 2023, so it's old, American production will grow to about 2.3 million barrels of oil a day, barrels of oil equivalent. And that's what I thought it was, 12 to 13. All right, let's get back to the comments. Skinny whales here? How do you solve a problem like Mariah or Maria or Maria? Godspeed, and I'm glad to see you, Skinny Whale. Very always direct and smart, insightful, good questions. It's good to see you. I hope you're well. Hope you're Florida, right? I hope everything's good in Florida. Jim Sinclair, yeah. Jim Sinclair was the best, and his sidekick now has his own presentation. In fact, his sidekick, I believe, had a video out the other day. I liked Jim Sinclair was great. He was great, as you know. Let me see some of these headlines. Why is the country ruled by judges? In the latest blow to European democracy, judge rules Marianne Le Pen is ineligible to run for president in 2007. Why does a judge have any? Oil and gold soar as U.S. stocks suffer the worst quarter versus the rest of the world in 23 years. Oh, Zuckerberg's accused of stealing ideas. It's not the first time. Meta accused of using pirated books to train AI. What a great guy. Trump fires hundreds of bureaucrats at failed Institute of Peace. He's the peace president. My father was, what do you call it? I think he was senior fellow at George Mason's, I forget the whole title, Senior Fellow, George Mason's Department of Peace and Public Policy, something like that, out here in Clarendon, Virginia. And as he always, the greatest thing about him sometimes, he'd just call up, he'd say, Bill, why don't you come over? Why don't you come? Let's go. He always including people. So he invited me to a lecture that he was giving in this auditorium. But to get to it, you go through the new George Mason complex, and to my memory, there's like a Federal Reserve building there, even brand new, or something like that. But then there's these new buildings everywhere sprouting up for George Mason. And you go to this old brick bunker that looks like it's been there since World War II. And everything's old. The air conditioners are all stuck in the window. You get lost trying to find where the lecture is, and you go into the offices, and they're all kind of seedy, and there's not a lot of windows, and it's deep, and there's one, two, three, four, five professors have their offices, but then there's someone actually having an office, a desk or two in the hallway right out of it. And I walk into Dad's office and I close the door. He's like, no, 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 nope, nope. Leave the door open. Leave the door open. If I can give you any advice today in this modern world, with women working and young women as students and interns, always leave your door open. Leave your door open. So that's one thing he said, I remembered. The other thing he said is, yeah, I'm sorry about my office, you know, son, there's just not a lot of money in peace. That always stuck in my head. I went to the opening of the U.S. Institute of Peace. It's right next to the State Department. I met a bunch of people there that you know. I got some pictures with some of them. I met one of my associate's father's wealthy friends who contributes to the Clintons a lot. He sort of recognized me. I said hi anyway. Mayors there, senators. It was interesting to go to, and I think it was the ambassador. I think it was the ambassador. I'm going to be wrong. It might have been the Qatari ambassador to the United States. Anyway, he was hosting it. So it was a very nice night and a lot of people there. It's sad to see that the U.S. Institute of Peace is half of the bureaucrats are being fired as an effort to cut government waste and reduce the size of the federal government while we're bombing the hell out of, as far as I can tell, civilians in Yemen. And we're going to cut peace. Yeah, there it is. Watch this. This is YouTube. All right, watch this. Let me just turn it sideways. No, let me do it this way. That's American bombing. There's a father, and there's a little son there. And the father is, God willing, we'll be safe. Why doesn't he get the F out of there? Oh, God bless him. He's holding his son. Oh, the poor kid. And this is our president of peace. He's crying. God bless him. God bless him. God bless him. So they got rid of the Institute of Peace. Swell. It's always good. It's always good knowing your president is a peace president. Son, there's not a lot of money in peace. That's what he said. There's just not a lot of money in peace. All right, let me find this guy who was the sidekick of Jim Sinclair. He has a video, Time Life video out. Bill Holter. And now he's getting older as well, like we all are. I'll read some of the quotes. You can go online to Google Bill Holter or YouTube Bill Holter. I don't want to play the video because I might get in trouble. Gold smells big trouble with it. This is Jim St. Clair's right-hand man. Gold smells big trouble with another new record high just last week. Gold is in hyperdrive in an economic hyper-levered house of cards. Bill Holter explains, quote, gold is now considered a tier 1 asset, but more importantly, gold cannot go bankrupt. I think big money is looking at the financial system and understanding that it is a hyper-levered house of cards or Ponzi scheme. Sovereign treasuries from across the world can and highly likely will default in some cases. Gold and silver cannot default. Gold and silver are money. This fiat experiment started off with dollars, European currencies, the yen, etc. They were all derivatives of gold. They have had several suppression schemes to keep the price down. And they desperately have to keep the price of silver down, because if silver runs, gold is going to follow and banks are going to fall, by the way. High and rising gold process are basically a vote of no, he must mean prices, are basically a vote of no confidence by the international community. Do you know one word that when I lived in London, I always got confused I would be in a meeting or whatever, and very smart guy, this guy that represented one of our clients from Goldman Sachs, the guy was from Goldman Sachs, great guy, always a gentleman. But he would talk about schemes. But in England, in the UK, are you okay? Are you okay in the UK? At the end of the day, in the UK, they use scheme in a positive way. Well, this I don't know, mobile phone minute scheme put forth by the minister. Scheme is a good word in the UK. Here in our usage, scheme almost always is negative. And when I was there, I started losing my mind. I was like, why do they use it in such a positive way? But anyway, when we say scheme, we mean schemer. All right, don't underestimate how disruptive Doge will be. Holter points out, the last time we interviewed, we talked about Doge and all of this slush money being paid out. Look at the 14 magic money machines that Elon Musk has found. All this money being spewed into the economy registers as GDP. So if you shut those spigots off, you were shutting off the money, and the real economy slows down. There is less cash flow from that. The real danger, and I'm not so sure it is by accident, is this is Trump's idea of pulling the plug. I have to believe he understands that by cutting the spending or cutting the capital that is going into the system, with the system as leveraged as it is right now, it's going to take everything down. What you are doing is cutting off new money to the Ponzi scheme, and no Ponzi scheme can survive without continually getting new money coming into it. Holter continues, the United States was considered for years and years the safe haven because of its pristine rule of law. When you pull the curtain back and everything is rotten, confidence breaks. That's our markets. That's Adina Friedman's NASDAQ. Adina Friedman's NASDAQ is rotten, and she's proud of it. The United States was considered for years and years the safe haven because of its pristine rule of law. When you pull the curtain back and everything is rotten, confidence breaks. You were not going to have money moving in the U.S. for safe haven status. You were going to have money leaving the United States. It's not just the money that is not going to hit the streets because of Doge, but mentally, because of corruption, they are exposing. So that's a bad sentence, but Doge is basically exposing that the United States is corrupt and a shitty place to do business. In closing, Holter says, Doge revealing that they just pay money out of thin air is a huge problem. That's that modern monetary theory that that woman, God, I always forget her name. I thought I heard you. Thought I heard you call my name. Well, I thought I heard you. Now that's Samantha Power. Let's see where this Coulter woman is. Is that she? Yeah, Stephanie Kelton. Stephanie Kelton, Modern Monetary Theory. The world is so much better for promoting people beyond their skill level because, hey, white women have been the most disadvantaged group in the history of mankind. White, blonde, blue-eyed women have been discriminated against. Put them at the front of the line of treatment. Oh, I've got to say that is the best dog. Have you ever seen a better dog than that dog? Have you ever seen a better boy than Lucky Boy? Don't you wish he were alive so you could hug him? He never let you hug him. Unless he came up to you, then he would let you hug him. Look at the happiest boy in the world. Look at the boy saying hi to the president of NBC News. Look at the boy when he was a puppy. Oh, just look at him. He's just the best boy. He's just the best boy. Why is there a picture of me? It's supposed to be the dog. Oh, there's a messy picture. Here's the happy boy. Anyway, let's finish Bill Holter. It's an hour-long interview. Doge is revealing that they just paid money out of thin air. That's Stephanie Kelton. You can't do the math if you don't have good numbers. If we can glean that they are going to cut 500 billion or 1 trillion or 2 trillion, we can figure out that is a problem for the real economy and the financial markets. Don't you think the people running the show know that? That tells me they are purposely pulling the rug out from under the system. It's game over. I'm not so sure. That's the problem with guys like me talking about gold and silver for so long. We start believing it. I'm not so sure that it's happening, that they're pulling the rug out, but I do think silver could light the fuse at any moment. I wish Lucky were alive to watch the MMTLP resolution. I do too. Lucky boy. Lucky boy is the best boy. He was the best boy. I miss him every day. I miss him every day. He loved people. I always think I met Matthew Simmons twice, I believe, but I remember the one time, and I think it was in, I think it was in Denver at the Westin Hotel. I think that's where it was. Anyway, I stood and talked to him for 15, 20 minutes. I had a drink in my hand. He had one in his hand. His wife wanted him to go. And for whatever reason, he decided to talk with me. And this guy's a rock star of peak oil. He's a Republican. He's the guy that wrote this book. He's the guy that wrote this book, Twilight in the Desert, right here. And the thing I remembered about him is he just met me when I walked up to him. But I remembered he looked in my eyes and he focused his entire attention on me. And I decided later that that might be one of the characteristics of good people, is that they do that. And that's what Lucky would do. Lucky always did that. He was always happy to meet somebody new. In the park, he was a little different with dogs. He had to go meet them, and he had to show that he was alpha, I guess. I don't know. But after he met him, he completely lost interest. And then he would, in the dog park, he would just stand alone and watch, and he wouldn't join in. He was a people dog. I miss hearing him lay beside you during the when he would snore. Yeah, you remember that? I forgot about that. He would snore. He was so good. I do miss him. And he'd always come in and you know, I Am Almost Legend. He used to know when I'd get worked up. So he'd walk and he'd look in, and he was. I had a woman as a roommate. I had actually at that time there were 3 women as roommates upstairs, and all three were Muslim, but this particular woman as Muslim, wonderful. I've lost track of her. I don't know how to stay in touch, but she was getting her doctorate. And she's from Pakistan, and she told me stories about how in Pakistan, women weren't even allowed to go to school. And when she was in elementary school, I guess somehow a tribe elder got her into school. Her mother apparently went with her because her mother had never gone to school. And she was very close to her mother, very close to her father. she was active or wanted to be active in Pakistani politics. And I remember one time she came home and she was crying. It's not like I spent a lot of time with everybody, but she was always a sweetheart, always a sweetheart. But she was crying, or trying not to cry would be more accurate. And she had just found out that she had breast cancer. She had what do you call them? Tumors, lumps on her breast. And of course, this is an awkward discussion to have. I wasn't as old as I am now, but I was an older guy, and but her pain, her struggle wasn't that she was afraid of the cancer, although she was. She knew, apparently, and I'm using my own words, she knew that if she told her parents, particularly her father, I think, she would no longer be a marriageable daughter, and they would. I'm trying to remember her words, but it was an entirely, so she wasn't going to have the surgery. And I remember telling her, this is your decision, and this is something you have to do for yourself. And why don't you tell your parents that God has given this technology that you can nip this disease in its bud, and you're going to be alive much longer. It makes, whatever the hell I said. But I told her, please go get another opinion, talk to other people, but please have the surgery. Don't do this because your father, your parent, you've come to America to get an education, and you now know you are educated beyond what maybe your parents understand. They love you, but you've got to do this for yourself. I think, I don't know for sure, but I think she had the operation. But anyway, she told me that in her country where she grew up, they never let dogs inside. So she had never heard of a dog being inside of the house. And Lucky would run upstairs whenever she was there, or her, because there were two women shared one room. He would run upstairs and stand out the door and then go in and spend time with them, even spend the night. He just loved her so much. And he was always kind to her. He was, I forget the other roommate's name right now, but he would just flirt with them, sleep with them, try to make them happy, lick them, be excited around them. He was great. And so she came down and telling me the story that, we never had dogs inside growing up. We didn't know. I said, I know. I have some friends out of the Middle East. They tell me dogs are dirty, and they are. I mean, dogs aren't clean. But I told her the story of Lucky. I said, I didn't know I was going to get Lucky. I was at a party for models. I was at L2, L3 in Georgetown, one of these highfalutin parties. And turns out it was Fashion for Paws, and he came over to me. He jumped up on me. He sat on my feet, and a friend of mine took pictures. I never got the pictures, but it was just, he sat with me all night. And anyway, I can go through the long story, but I'll skip it. So I told her, I said, you know, I think he was a gift to me from God. And I pointed out to her that obviously it's so trite now, but dog and God are the same, you know, spelled backwards. But I said, he teaches you so many things that God wants to teach you. Like, there are, you can, if you regret something, just let it go, you know, just turn. He was always good at that. Always he would take a deep breath, and then he'd pick his head up and look forward for the next thing, and he'd get excited about the next thing. He always did that. He was always kind to everybody. He was always loving, always forgiving. When he had to go to sleep or he had to be alone, he didn't complain. He just took a deep breath and basically put himself to sleep, and he just accepted it. He never complained. He never complained. He got scared at the end when I moved. It wasn't his house, so when I would leave him, he felt abandoned. But he never complained, and he didn't fight, although he got in 2 or 3 little scrapes, but he wasn't a fighter. He would run. He tried to get every dog in the park into running around, and they all chased him, and he just had joy. He was always full of joy. And the other thing, he did it all his life. I would give him at home, I would try to give him milk bone treats, and he wouldn't take them. He just, But when we would go out, and it wasn't always, sometimes if I gave it to him out, he would. But when we would go out, if somebody else gave him that treat, he would take it just to show love with that person, is how I figure it. Just to say thank you, just to say, I'm grateful you're giving me that treat. He remembered everybody. He remembered every person that was kind to him, every place where he's just an incredible dog. Anyway, sorry. I shouldn't have been talking about him. Hey, Ricky. Yeah, Lucky is an angel. All right, I wanted to tell you about the Permian. Oh, I loved him. I loved him. Let me see. It's another text message that distracted me. I wanted to, let's see if I have it here in books. I downloaded something in books that I wanted to go over with you. I know trying to educate you on boring things might be, in fact, boring, but I think we're going through a period in history where the great bounty, the great miracle of American wealth, and really everything from health. You know, we just imported 19 million people without screening them for smallpox or measles or any contagious disease. We just brought in 20 million people. So I think the miracle of our country having low levels of disease like smallpox compared to the rest of the world, is going to go away. And this is a democratic play for votes. It's an ill thought through, squishy, fairness doctrine or something. I'm not complaining about people being here, but just test them for the disease. When my grandparents or great grandparents came through Ellis Island, they had to be tested for disease. Anyway, that's one example of how our life's going to change. The other is that because of seniorage, because of basically World War II, World War I, World War II, it's more complicated than this, but we got into both wars late. We didn't really suffer heavy damage. I mean, obviously Pearl Harbor was huge, but our population, our factories, our industrial might remained. And the rest of the world, even though you could say they won the war, the United Kingdom lost its empire. France, I think you'd be surprised how much empire they still have. But France, of course, Indochina set off the disaster of particularly Lyndon Johnson, probably more than any. The French, I don't know if the Dutch lost it because of World War II or just that wooden ships lost. But the Dutch, still have the wealth of shell, and they still have a standing in the world beyond what you would expect out of a tiny country. That's the compounding of money, and that's empire. But we took the place. We became the world's empire. And I think we did it out of good reasons, good heart. I think we did a lot of good. But the big engine for all of it was United States oil. World War II, maybe World War I, but certainly World War II was won because of Texas oil. And there's no doubt about it. And U.S. oil fueled the boom in through the 70s, it was U.S. oil that led the world. But then we went out and discovered oil around the world. And by that time, the monetary system was in place, which meant that every currency, every economy keyed off the dollar. And most of the world's gold was in the United States because of the war. Reparations brought money in, and we sold our product to the rest of the world. Automobiles, movies. The Beatles didn't make it big till they came here. We were the engine of the world. And as a consequence, we remain a huge economy. But what we've done, we've gone like many other empires. We're in the financialization stage of our empire. Nobody expects to really work anymore. Everybody wants to make the fast buck. And a very few men have concentrated financial wealth, control of the government, control of the regulators, control of Congress, to concentrate wealth on a scale never before seen in history. And none of these men, none, would ever serve nor would their forebears serve in the U.S. Military. I don't think. I mean, I'm thinking of the men as in my head. There's not one of them that could do, 5 pull-ups. Well, actually, Bezos probably could. Has to get out of bed quickly. So the United States has benefited from 5% of the population consuming a third of the world's resources. That, my friends, is over. That ended probably under Biden. It might have ended under G.W. Bush, but that is over with. And Donald Trump is trying to continue the American dream. And I admire that, because there is a part of the American dream, which Trump is correct about, by the way. It's our Constitution. It's the fact that we don't have corruption here. At least that was the illusion. That was the illusion. And that there are individual rights. And I hate crap like Obama's "the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice." It's all crap. It's just designed to be on the top of a museum somewhere. But because what did Obama really do? Now, I think Obama's greatest accomplishment was just being half black, if you can call. I hate all these terms, but he's half African American, but he's really Kenyan. And, blacks from Africa don't like blacks that are grown. I don't know, it gets so complicated. I can't figure it out. But because his skin was pretty dark, he got elected. I think that changed America. And I got emotional when it happened. I noticed it here. I live in the chocolate city, and people just looked at each other differently. It's like, hey, anybody can be president. Yeah, but what about a woman? Well, I'm all for a woman to be president someday, maybe after I'm dead. No, just kidding. I just don't think someone should be promoted as quickly as Obama was, for example. Obama didn't have much experience. And it showed. It showed in his policies, and it showed in what's left of the country after he got out. But anyway, what you're seeing under Trump is an attempt to recreate the Elvis Presley time in America. It's gone. It's gone. You can't get it back. But you can bring back the idea of no corruption or very little corruption. You can bring back the idea of government which puts the people first, not themselves first. You can bring back that anybody can get ahead in America on hard work and merit alone. Hard work and merit alone. And we can bring back the time when the country actually produces things rather than it's all financial manipulation. If you can't see it, what our country has become under Reagan, when Jimmy Carter left office, our debt was less than, I want to say it was less than $1 billion. And Carter was a conservative. He cut spending. Reagan came in as everyone thinks he was so conservative, and he just doubled or tripled our debt. But man, wouldn't we love to be back there? Now our debt is growing to $100 trillion. we're not going to pay it. But what Trump's trying to do is get that under control. Get the finance. I was trying to say what's happened when you have $1 billion of debt or 3 billion, and now you've got 30 trillion. Can you see where the greedy men on Wall Street can make money? You don't need much percentage of trillions of dollars to get bloody rich. And they're doing it. They're doing it. But Trump wants to change that. Bravo. He wants to bring back the American idea. Bravo. Bring back American business and creativity and hard work. Bravo, bravo, bravo. But we need to have honest markets. Of course, of course. I also noticed something about Trump, and I don't know as a white guy if I'm being blind or not, but it's always difficult in situations when you're out and race comes up, and you're in the middle of the conversation, and someone at the table goes, "Shh, there's some, somebody." So we're talking about it. Let's just talk about it. I'm not saying anything. We're talking about an issue. Let's talk about it. And so I, of course, continue talking about it. But the other thing is that people, white people, I notice, always bring up whether or not not always, that's not fair. But a lot of times, as I grew up, I'm older, it may not happen anymore. As I grew up, people would go out of their way to point out that their friend is, back then it was called black, and now it's African American. They go out of the way. Oh, I would eschew that. I didn't see the point of bringing that up. And I can tell you stories on that about my life. But one thing I notice about Trump, he doesn't bring it up. He appoints somebody to ambassador in Germany who's a gay guy. He doesn't bring up the guy's gay. He appoints that woman in his first term who quit and sold a book or something. I forget her name. Was she spokesman, or was she had some role? He didn't take all this time that she's African American. He does sometimes point out that they're women, I guess, but I give him credit for, and maybe I'm wrong, for trying to judge people on their merit. And he promotes people, and it's not focused on their race, and he's not against their race either. Race doesn't dismiss that person's chances, but he doesn't glorify himself by saying, "Hey, I appointed the." Anyway, I give him credit for that because that's our melting pot. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and if so, that's my blindness. Immigration is our strength, our population, our education system. So many things Trump's trying to bring back. But one thing I think he's failing, and he's not the only one. Margaret Thatcher did it. Reagan did it. Carter tried to stop it, but I hate his choice. He decided to focus on coal and nuclear power, and I think we've already out. I was listening to Colonel Wilkerson the other day, who I like. He dislikes the unprofessionalism, as he sees it, of Donald Trump. But I think Wilkerson is a smart, thoughtful man. He also taught at William and Mary. But what did Wilkerson say? I forgot what I was going to say about Wilkerson, so I'll try to get back on track and come back to it. Something about, yeah, I can't remember right now. Darn it. Sorry. So anyway, Trump is trying to bring back the time when we could drive. Well, I guess I was quickly making a point on nuclear power and coal. A lot of you don't believe in climate change, or if there is climate change, you don't think it's caused by human beings. I question that, because if it took eons to put carbon in the ground so that the world could go away from, I don't know, the big moths and dinosaurs, and allow human beings to come up and breathe oxygen. I don't know if that's exactly how a scientist would describe it, but it took eons, hundreds of millions of years. And in the span of 100 years, there's a gentleman, I forget his name now, started measuring carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. He's in Hawaii, and he started climbing to the top of the mountains. Every year he'd measure it. And to my memory, I'm going to get it wrong, parts per million were like 150 parts of carbon in the atmosphere per million. And now we're over 425 and climbing. What saved us is the sink, the carbon sink of the oceans. But I was just out in Northern Virginia, and they're destroying trees to put up brand new Donald Trump style developments. And I'm not picking on him. I'm talking about this concept that we can go back to how America was, where you create shopping centers, you create places to eat and homes, and it's all based around the automobile. We don't have enough oil left to do this. But that's, to him, that's where we're going to go. And I would argue, I don't think he would, but I would argue that the government subsidizes that development. So it's not free markets. The builders are subsidized, the banks are subsidized, the mortgages are guaranteed. The highways are built with federal dollars. The truckers, not the truck drivers, but the trucking systems and the big Kmarts and Walmarts and Costco's benefit from all that government spending, so they get the cheap goods into our shelves just in time, so we live this American dream. It's not going to continue. And I wish Jimmy Carter had tried to leave the coal in the ground, because Colonel Wilkerson, that's what it was I was going to tell you. He thinks there's two threats to mankind, womankind, humankind. One is nuclear war, and two is climate change. I agree with that, but I think he leaves out a major risk, which is a woman becoming president. No, I'm kidding. A major risk, which is Fukushima Daiichi, and the 8 reactors that must have melted down on the other side of the island last year, but we don't hear about it. Every 5-7 years, there's a nuclear accident which spews radiation that our bodies and our species around us, nobody can sense. These are materials, atoms, which are iron ionosphere, the magnosphere, keeps out of Earth. And when the sun sends them our way, we don't see them. Well, Fukushima Daiichi, using Moxie fuel, which is reconcentrated plutonium waste, to my memory, it's spewed all over Japan. It's in the water, it's in the atmosphere, it's everywhere. And Hillary Clinton signed immediately. She sent out an email to all of her friends and State Department employees when that explosion of 3 reactors occurred, and Barack Obama came out and said, Americans have nothing to worry about. Your only duty is to stay informed, which I took him seriously on. I used to listen to him. But now all the news is down. But Hillary Clinton, who warned her list of people to stay indoors, Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, signed a law or an agreement that the United States would import fish and beer and sake and rice and farm food, everything from Japan. One buckyball, one atom gets in your lung, you're going to die. She said, let's import it. Why? She has some wisdom the rest of us don't about radiation? Or was she paid off? Did somebody donate to the Clinton Foundation? This, to me, is evil. This is evil. But Obama didn't do anything. Obama did not do anything. Obama didn't do anything. He spent trillions of dollars to rescue a handful of men on Wall Street. He didn't rescue homes. He didn't do anything about the Clinton-Biden crime bill. And I'll tell you one darn thing he didn't do. He didn't go over to Japan and say, folks, here's $1 trillion. We're going to isolate those corium, and we're going to redirect the water that's running out to the sea, and we're going to do what it takes, folks, to save Japan and to save the Pacific Ocean for generations to come. No, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. So anyway, I'm against nuclear power and coal because I do believe in climate change. And I do think what happened at Fukushima has likely ruined our DNA and our animals' DNA such that we may be living the last 1 or 2 or 3 generations that are carefree. I hope I'm wrong on that, but nobody's doing any studies. Nobody's doing anything. Fukushima happened on March 11th, 2011. Nobody has done nothing. See, nobody has done nothing. Nobody has done anything. So anyway, Trump is trying to get us back to a time when it was America's great. I think in fairness, he believes there's room for Russia, for China, for India. And I give him credit for that. But this is all premised on this idea that the United States has endless supplies of oil, more than Saudi Arabia. We do not. Because the sentence is not complete. The sentence is not complete. Do we have cheap, inexpensive, relatively inexpensive oil? Easy to obtain, inexpensive oil left? that can carry on for decades our lifestyle? I don't know. I don't know. If our population is declining worldwide, there'll be plenty of oil to go around, but that won't necessarily be a place to be. Anyway, sorry for riffing off on that. Let me just go to books and can't find books, so I'll search for it. Books. Library. Okay, there it is. I'm trying to open it. It's taking a while. All right, this is from oilprice.com, the state of the U.S. oil and gas industry. I'm not going to read everything because I already talked too long, but this was 2022 when oil prices were cheap. This was right after that. Renewable forms of energy, wind, solar, did not sustain the Europe through the winter of 22-23. So the Europe started buying LNG and coal from the United States and elsewhere for that winter. Russia invaded Ukraine, blah blah blah. So they're laying the background. So the shale industry, having been thoroughly chastened by the investing community for profligate debt-fueled spending in the early years of shale development, decided not to ramp up production. This led the administration, that was Trump, to authorize a dramatic drawdown. No, that was Biden. Sorry, that was Biden, to authorize a dramatic drawdown of the United States Strategic Petroleum Reserve, putting 1 million barrels a day into the marketplace. Sweet talk was not producing the desired results. So the Biden administration called shale players un-American for their refusal to produce more. So that's the opening paragraph. That brings us to the dawn of 2023. So this woman that ran Energy Granholm said she was eager to work with the industry. So anyway, that brought us to 2023. And this is when I was trying to raise money. I still am for oil and gas. But things are changing. Anyway, in the dawn of 2023, tight energy supplies, that's the shale drilling, will barely outpace demand unless we have a recession. And then the Fed is raising interest rates. The Russians and Ukrainians still fighting. Chinese demand expected to surge. Oh, I have some doubts about that now. OPEC will continue to retain supply. Maybe. So the outlook for 23, I'm trying to skip through some of this to get to the trouble ahead. The government needs to refill the SPR. Trades have moved from contango into backwardization. All right, American production will grow to about 12.3 million barrels of oil equivalent per day. I think we got a little higher than that, thanks to a pickup in shale drilling and drilling with longer laterals, going out further. CapEx, capital spent on drilling, devoted to exploration, will increase as the majors look to boost production. Chevron, Exxon will increase CapEx. Sometime after mid-year, growth in shale should flatten as the DUCs that have been brought online over the past couple of years begin to decline. DUCs are the drilled but non-completed wells. As they bring those on, well, you have fewer of them. During the low price era, which was the COVID time, operators chose to draw down their DUC inventories, drilled uncompleted, as opposed to drilling new wells. From mid-2020 to year-end 22, about 4,000 DUCs, that's drilled uncompleted wells, were brought online, reducing the count of DUCs from 8,500 to just over 4,000. So that is a driver. When I talk to my friends, the DUCs are flying north. They're almost gone. Now, shale is getting gassier, at least in some plays, particularly in the Eagle Ford, and this will have implications for the burgeoning Gulf Coast chemical and the LNG trade. Finally, service providers who have not shared in the shale boom and the oil price boom will see their ship come in, and so oil field service companies will start to participate. So one of the defining metrics over the last 8 years in the U.S. oil and gas industry has been the lack of CapEx on new projects. And that's like the Oro Grande. That's considered a new project. All of that, my experience in funding oil and gas plays, during those 8 years, you could go talk to the CEO, and if you're willing to put down the money, you can own half the company, half the project. But now, as the cycle's changing, we're going to come to a point that the only thing I can show you is I can get you shares of the hottest new IPO. It's a shame. It's a shame. Because people who had the courage and the foresight over the last 8 years can get bloody rich. It's still out there, though. There's still plenty to do. So one of the defining metrics over the last decade, really, has been the lack of CapEx for new projects. Nearly 2/3 of $1 trillion in growth CapEx has been withheld. Well, that money's not gone. It's still sitting. And more. So 2/3 of $1 trillion in spending on growth capital expenditures have been withheld or diverted to other energy sources from a decade ago. This may soon result in severe consequences for energy security. Low prices were the primary drivers of this outcome as oil companies struggled with debt loads. This is the geniuses, concentrated geniuses in New York, funding oil and gas rather than having a vibrant, honest, regulated over-the-counter market. So low prices were the primary drivers of this outcome as oil companies struggled with debt loads and maturity schedules. The bankers, the private equity groups say, you can't go drill anything new. You can't even drill something that looks good on your own property, closeology. You've got to pay down your debt to us because we're the banksters. We're the overpaid wankers. We're God's gift to humanity. This era of capital restraint reached its nadir in this cycle, and we could be on the threshold of a new period of investment favoring traditional energy sources. That's what I want to get ahead of to you. I'll stop soon because I know I've gone on a while without talking about what you really care about. But I think we're getting to the point where oil and gas is going to be a place that is happening. Retired Goldman Sachs energy analyst and well-known industry commentator Arjun Murthy noted in an article posted on his Substack blog, in my view, we are still much closer to the start of this news cycle, as capital spending is barely off its 2020 lows and well below the kind of levels which are commensurate with meeting, let alone exceeding, expected oil and natural gas demand for the next decade. And then he has a graph. He says where we are in the energy cycle, out of the COVID slowdown, we are early in a new era of expansion of upstream spending to replace oil fields, now reaching terminal decline. Terminal decline doesn't mean that they're going to run out of oil anytime soon. It's just their production is declining, but the decline is terminal. There's nothing you can do to tear me away from my girl. There's nothing you can do to get that oil field to get back to peak production. Two super majors just bought companies in the Permian. You knew this. This is articles old. Chevron and Exxon have increased CapEx commitments to drive production higher in the next few years. Exxon CEO Darren Woods, production in the Permian Basin is forecast to grow more than 800,000 barrels of oil equivalent by 2027, compared to 560 barrels of oil equivalent per day in 2022. It's to grow to that production. It's not just the super majors deploying increased CapEx in this phase of the news cycle. Fledgling operator High Peak Energy, I know High Peak Energy, fledgling. They're fledgling because of the criminals. I want to make it our mission to get a market for stocks that competes with Adina Friedman's ever expanding rear end and of course Robert Cook's already expanded rear end. If we can go start an exchange, I'll put Skinny Whale in charge of it, and we focus on resource plays, and we only do plain vanilla deals, no short selling. I think there's room for every one of you to be on the board of that company, earning money every quarter. Private operators have also been driving growth. Surge Energy, I know them. I know them. I don't know them Very well. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. We'll talk about the limits to shale growth another time. What I was trying to get into your head, one is this North American lifestyle is over. Now, it could take 5, 10, 15 years, but we have to start adjusting. I think it's okay. We're going to have a happy life. Dr. Helen Caldicott, for example, used a statistic in all of her lectures that if in the United States, if we stopped using dryers, we can still use our washing machines, but stop using dryers, start hanging our clothes, we could shut down every single nuclear power plant in the country. So there are ways. You can still live a nice life without nuclear power plants or without coal plants. It's just that we have to start spending our energy less prolifically. I look around here, young kids go around on these motorcycles and souped up four-wheelers. They're just burning gasoline like it's nothing. I don't get mad at them because out in the suburbs, people hop in their SUV to drive down to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee. This is just, we just waste our energy, and it'll come to an end. But anyway, that's one thing I wanted to get across. The other thing is, as an investment cycle, we're finally getting to the point, and probably we're going to miss the boat on being able to buy into energy deals inexpensively. I'm hoping to get 2 energy deals placed, which I will make available with proper lawyering and proper following the rules to anybody that wants to participate. But we might miss out. It's things are speeding up. That's one thing I noticed about the whole world after COVID. Maybe it's because during COVID, everybody got used to their phones, but everything moves at such a speed today. Ideas, they're around the world, just like that. There's I'm Almost Legend. Someday I'm Almost Legend is going to write the great American novel. Now, wait a minute. Hasn't somebody already done that? There's always a place for the new great American novel. What novel would I place as a modern? That's an interesting question. I don't read many novels anymore, but what novel just surprised the heck out of you that you wanted to share and talk about and you couldn't? I think one popped to my mind is Bonfire of the Vanities. It stuck with me a long time, but there's a similar book. There's a similar book that I read, it just came out. Let me see if I can find it. Which I don't think quite met the, no, that's not it. Maybe that's it. Let me see if this is it. No. City on Fire is not it. Maybe it is, actually. Here it is. Garth Halbert, Reagan and William. Yeah, I think City on Fire. I think that's it. That was a novel that stayed with me. It surprised me. City on Fire. But one that I remember reading 3 decades ago, written by it was made into a movie by with Barbara Streisand, terrible, and Nick Nolte, also not one of his stronger roles. Is it called Beach Music by Pat Conroy? Beach Music was the follow-up. I think Beach Music was the follow-up. It's all right. This one was called, I can't stand that my memory isn't very good anymore. Prince of Tides. Wow, that book. Oof, that book really hit me. Maybe it's because how I grew up, but boy, that book was something. I don't know. What's the great American novel? Modern novel. What's the great American modern novel? Anyway, you're going to write it. I Am Almost Legend. That's Lucky Boy. Forgiveness and letting go. Absolutely. And then he would be just as enthusiastic about the next thing. You mentioned pulling a sell order, putting in a sell order for GBUX at 144. Yeah, I'm pretty simplistic because I don't know where to put the targets in on these stocks. But if you take the long way home, if you take the long way home, if you take the long way home, if you take the Fibonacci sequence, and I think I can remember the numbers, you do 1 plus 2 gives you 3, plus 5 gives you 8, plus 5 gives you 13, plus 8 gives you 21, plus 13 gives you 34, plus 21 gives you 5, gives you 55, plus 34 gives you 89, plus 55 gives you 144. So that's as simple as why I put that in. So if I were to give you a number on GBUX to sell 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, and 144 would be, just because it's the Fibonacci sequence, would be numbers I'd give you. Then you put in there, if you look at the charts, you might find something. There's really nothing on the charts that tells me anything on GBUX. But then you look in, you would say numbers like you would add in numbers like that, because everybody puts numbers in at the round numbers, 20, 25, maybe here 50, 60, 75, 100. So any and all those numbers would matter, but I'm Almost Legend. I think GBUX could go to $200 in a spike. Will it? That's a really risky call, and the odds of it happening are very low. but you have, to the best of my information, and the stock has not traded like this so far. So there could be something wrong with my information. I just got to find my notes. I guess I don't, oh, is that it? Anyway, I can do it from memory. My understanding is the float and then the short and these are my assumptions that if the company comes out, and I'm going to check, I'm almost legend if they filed that 8K today, but the float is 1.2 million shares. The short is 2.4 million, and the stock trades by appointment. How high could it go if they started buying in this 2.4 million? Because what happens, I'm almost legend, is as the stock spikes, from, whatever, 4 to 5 to 10, the day trader shorts and the computers short it back down. So you're going to say, well, all this volume, they covered that short. Well, they will short it back down. And then that short, as the stock rallies, here it gets bought in, and then it happens again. And this dynamic can go on and on. Look at MLGO, Magoo. Let me look at where Magoo closed. $24, and it was as high today as 30. So there was a stock. I am almost legend, so you don't think I'm just making all this up. Let me see if I can get a chart. I think this is the one. I'll use NASDAQ, use their chart. It's $1.84 now, but let me go to 5 years. Yeah. So you can see this chart on HoHo, and it traded from some unknowable number because they've obviously done reverse splits since then. All the way up to 4,500. So I don't know. It was probably a couple of bucks, $3, and then it traded all the way up to 4,000. I don't think that's what happened. I think it traded up to about $200. And this stock at the time had very low volume, very limited number of shares in the float. So anyway, yeah, I think it's possible that GBUX can go to 200 in a spike. There won't be a chance to trade it. If it goes, let's say GBUX went to 150, I don't think you'll have time to enter your order. So that's why I threw an order in there. Now, if the stock trades up to, you said Ham says 60 or 70, I might not even be in it that long. I mean, if it traded on volume, I might change my order to 45 and just be glad to get out, But my biggest reason is I just don't own that much stock. It's 325 shares. I'd love to, if one of these really went, I'd love to, hey, I made some money and talk about it. But it's a risky trade. Ham's number is probably much more reasonable. But when you think about it, compared to what? Compared to my number? Yeah, but compared to $2, they both look insane. The reason both targets look insane is because there's nothing the company could do on its own to get that high. It's just short squeeze, a trap short. So I'm asking myself, how high can GBUX go in a squeeze? I don't know that answer, but I think it can go to 200. So the next Fibonacci number, by the way, would be something like, I can't remember, 260, 144 plus 89. Are you out of your mind? Oh yeah, 233. 233. You could put it in at 233. It might go to 233. But I picked 144. That's all. That's why. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thoughts on Nix? Yeah, I'm bullish on Nixie. Apparently they just filed something. But on Nixie, Nixie just put out all of everything they've put out is good news. But it's just so much powder puff language. I guess they have to do that because they have to disclose it. But it doesn't scare little Bill. I told him how you was William Money out of Kansas and that you killed little. He told us you was William Money out of Kansas and you kill women and children. But that didn't scare little Bill. Give me that whiskey. This is all good news on Nixie, but none of it screams to the shorts, we're going to get screwed. So they just keep selling. But wait, I think there's more news to drop. I'm not going to go over the 10K because, well, I can look at it, but it's not going to tell us anything. I think what I think on Finger, Hamid, is that it can go to 5 over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, it's, there's no guarantee. But it could go to 20 or 30. If the shorts get squeezed. And I think there's a possibility of that. So they did file their annual report. See, that's interesting. Listen to this for everybody that's been in Logic. Nixie, a Nevada company, is a holding company through its subsidiaries has operated on-demand recruiting platform, including on-demand contract recruiting, job board platforms, recruiting education services, and a candidate marketing software. Recently, the company acquired the license from GoLogic Inc. to operate its fintech technology, the GoLogic technology, and sell products derived thereof, including the Creed app, PayLogic, GoLogic, and Radix AI technology and products. Additionally, in February 25, the company acquired certain assets from Savitar Tech, an Estonian corporation specializing in telecommunications and software, billing, AI integration, etc. We have 3 operating subsidiaries: Recruiter.com, Recruiting Solutions LLC, and Aura Link. And Aura Link houses the telecom business. They have a controlling interest in Atlantic Energy Solutions, which is being renamed to Cogno Group. And the company owns 6 non-operating subsidiaries: Recruiter.com, VocalWorks, Recruiter.com Scouted, Recruiter.com Upsider, and Recruiter.com Upside Your Head. Bunch of Recruiter.coms. The company is undergoing a transformation, having sold its staffing business and its Recruiter.com website. It's shifting its focus, as represented in the license agreement with GoLogic, a major shift in revenue. They just repeat themselves 3 times. Changing strategic focus. They just say they're changing their focus. Market opportunity in telecommunications. Yeah, everybody has that. Emerging. Yeah, okay, all right, great. Look, I don't want to read it all, Hamid. What my premise on Nixie is, this is all good news. And if this catches out the shorts, you could get a squeeze. If it doesn't, I still think you can get the stock trading upward. I believe Nixie is going to have another $150 million share, 50 million share day, maybe 100 million shares. To me, and I don't have a huge position, it's 1,100 shares in my IRA. To me, as soon as it hits that 50, 60, 100 million share volume, I'm going to think seriously of selling into that volume, unless the news is powerful. What's my risk? I might. It could be like that MLGO stock. Everybody maybe sold at 6, 7, 8, and then it ran to 30 today. I might risk that, but that might be how I trade it. We'll talk about it if the volume picks up. Oh, it was Kangar's. Yeah, I'm bullish on it. I think you're going to have a chance to scale out, or maybe even experience a stock that goes to $20, $25, $30. And yeah, what isn't described in there is how they're going to achieve 20 million. Sorry, how much they're going to pay for that revenue. But I just read that a bunch of that revenue is going through their subsidiary that Conagra. So maybe it's going to use one of these, preferred stock things that are all in vogue now that don't dilute the company very much. So it's exciting. Yeah, I'm still bullish on it. Anyway, it's 6:13. I've kind of run out of things to talk about. I think. Let's just look and see if where GBUX closed. I'm going to the Yahoo site. No change there. Oh, I meant to click this picture. This woman that came out against Jeffrey Epstein, she's going to die in 4 days. It was in the, I think it was in the Daily Hate. She writes, Virginia Guthrie, she's got days to live. She's in renal failure as results of an injury she sustained with a bus. This year has been the worst start of a new year, but I won't bore anyone with the details. I think it's important to note that when the school bus driver comes at you, driving 110 kilometers, we were slowing for a turn that no matter what your car is made of, it might as well be a tin can. I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. I'm ready to go. Just not until I see my babies one more time. As one of the most prominent Epstein victims, Guthrie has been speaking out for years about her sexual abuse. It's just terrible. It makes you wonder if it's really an accident. Anyway, I hope she's all right. So anyway, I'm going to sign off. That reminds me, we need to, I think if you have time, we could each pray for RW here, Robert Weiss, for his health and his long life ahead, and pray for Jenny L. and pray for all the children in war zones around the world. Pray that the bombs miss them and that maybe we stop dropping so many bombs. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. I thank you for joining me. I do want to start getting you thinking about energy and what we're going to be facing and how we can make money from that. I've already started you down the road with gold and silver. And we'll try to keep tracking some of these other stocks, but as you can tell, it's a difficult way to make money, but it's fun when it works. So anyway, peace to everyone. Thanks for joining in. Ciao.